Hi, everyone. I'm Teresa Bont. I am the Senior Regional Director of Admission with the University of Tulsa, and I have been asked to present to you information about the college essay. I started in college admission almost 30 years ago. I'm in my 19th year working for the University of Tulsa. I'm from my home office right here in Webster Grove, so not too far from Kirkwood. I'm also the parent of two boys, one of whom is a recent graduate of the University of Tulsa, and the other one is a college junior at another private Midwest university. And I'm excited to talk with you about writing your college essay. You're likely not excited to start working on your college essay. In fact, you might be a bit nervous about this piece of the application process. Try not to look at this as a burden or a chore. Rather, look at this as an opportunity to tell the colleges a bit about who you are. And hopefully after this session, you will be excited to start working on your college essay. Well, maybe not excited, but hopefully a little bit less nervous. So we're going to move on and get started. So why do you think colleges ask you for an essay? Essentially, your essay allows you to become real or three-dimensional to the admission committee. Is this the most important piece of your application file? No, not usually. The most important piece of your high school is your high school transcript, as it shows your academic history and allows us to determine your preparedness for our college curriculum. But your high school transcript doesn't always tell the whole story. Not even close. This is where your essay comes in and allows the admission committee to get to know you a bit. We're looking for the real you, not just a statistical profile. And in fact, sometimes your essay can be the tipping point or the difference maker for an admission or for a scholarship decision. The essay is the only place where we can hear your voice, just as you want it. And the essay allows us to get to know a bit about who you are, not just what you've done. Often, I think the hardest part is just getting started. So unless you're waiting to start your essay until right before it's due, which I hope you're not, and just by listening to this essay video, I'm hoping that that's not the case. But you shouldn't feel like you should have to write the complete essay in one sitting. Using these smaller chunks of tasks that are here on this slide will allow your essay to come together. And it will be over several nights, several weeks, in fact, sometimes over a few months as you're working on this. So when you're at the point of putting the rough draft of your essay together, you're going to have a base from which to start by going through these tasks here. The topic itself may not be life-changing or profound, nor does it need to be. But sometimes the monotony of your routine sparks an essay topic. It's these little nuggets that are unique and quirky to you that can make a great essay topic. So essentially what I suggest that you do is start by making a list of adjectives you've used to describe yourself. That's pretty simple, right? You can just make a list of adjectives that you would use to describe yourself. Are you organized and tidy? Are you school-spirited? Are you, quirky? I mean, all kinds of things that adjectives you can use to describe yourself. If you have trouble with this particular piece of this, ask your parents, ask your friends, ask your teachers. I'm sure they can come up with some adjectives to help you get started. Then the next piece of this is just to choose a few of these adjectives to highlight in your essay. What do you want the admission committee to know about you? Then you can tie these adjectives to some activities you're involved in. So if you are some of these things that I just mentioned, organized and school-spirited, you might be involved in a pep club or student council or something that you want to tie those adjectives to some of those activities that you're a part of, or clubs or organizations or athletics. And then think of experiences with those activities to highlight some of those adjectives. So it's not just a matter of your being a member of student council to show that you are organized, but it could be that you had to organize some kind of event at Kirkwood High School or activity, and that you remember some of the challenges that you faced as you were going through planning that event. So you could talk about, or just make a note here, that's an experience that you might be able to share, some kind of a story that happened with that organization that would show that you are organized and school spirited, and on and on. So you're just going to think of some of those experiences that you might have had. And again, at this point, it's just making a list. And then that last bullet point on this slide says to set a timer and tell your story. This, I think, is key. This is not where you're going to have to figure out what your opening statement might be in your essay, or how am I going to bring this story all together and have a great conclusion. This is truly just brainstorming at this point. All of these pieces of this exercise is just brainstorming to get you started to figure out what direction do you want to go. And by setting a timer, it allows you to focus on this exercise. So it's not as if you are saying, okay, I have to sit down and do this entire essay today. And you might get really distracted with, oh, you know what, actually, I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to grab a snack. Or I'm just going to check Snapchat really fast and see who just sent me something through Snapchat. You won't get distracted if you know, hey, I've got the next 10 minutes or the next 20 minutes or the next 30 minutes. And I'm going to turn all of these distractions off. And I'm going to focus on just writing this story, this experience that I had that I want to share. It's not that your essay will come from that necessarily. It may not. You might scrap that story, but it's through this exercise. If you do this a few times with a few different stories, you might find, wow, when I started writing that story, I was really excited to write about it. And when my timer went off, hey, I just kept going. I was so excited and I wasn't quite finished yet. So I feel like if you go through these exercises on the slide more than once, you're going to have several ideas after a while. And as I said, don't try to develop the essay during this 20-minute brainstorming writing. This is the time for you to write from your heart and edit later with your brain. So what's important about this piece is just relaxing, being yourself, be real, be honest, write ideas as they come to you. Later, when you're editing, see how those ideas connect to one another and develop the opening and the closing paragraphs at that time. You can ask a teacher or administrator who may not know you well to read your essay and ask what they've learned about you, or read your story and say, is this, what did you learn about me through this story that I just wrote, that you just read? And then once they tell you what they've learned about you, say, is that what, ask yourself, is that what you wanted to convey about yourself to the admission committee? The admission committee is made up of people who do not know you. So what is coming through your story off that paper? How are we getting to know you through that story? So that's really the purpose of the essays, for us to get to know you a little bit better. So you might not have your list of colleges to which you're going to apply finished yet, and that's okay. So you might be wondering, though, how can I start writing my essay when I don't even know the essay prompts yet? I don't even know where I'm going to apply, and I don't know what those essay questions are going to be. That's a really good question, but I have an answer for you. Most colleges are simply wanting to know you better through your essay, and we'll provide different essay prompts simply to help get you started. So the bottom line, though, is that we want to know you. And the questions are just phrased a little differently from one another. There are some common themes. I mean, the common theme is you. We want to get to know you, but there are some common types of questions, or these essay prompts. The you question is something like, tell us about yourself. I mean, really open-ended. The why us question, it might be, how do you think attending this college will impact your future? What we don't want here is for you to talk about how great the university is and not help us understand how you're going to plug into our university. Why is that important to you? You might tell us a couple of things about us, but why is that important to you? So we still want to get to know you through that question. The creative question could be something like, if you could be any key on a keyboard, what key would you be and why? So there's not a right answer here. It's not as if we are hoping that everybody picks a particular key. What we want you to do is tell us about yourself through that question. So if you get a question like that and you want to talk about, how excited you are, that you are very extroverted and you're involved in all kinds of different things, well, goodness, you could pick the exclamation point. And if you've already written your essay about that story about, something that happened that showed how excited you are and school spirited and extroverted you are, well, you can take that story and just fit it into that essay prompt about what key could you be on a keyboard and, and why. So don't feel like right now today you have to know where you're applying to college to be able to start your essay. You may not have the questions, but truly all of the questions are trying to figure out, a little bit about who you are. And then finally, the anything goes question is topic of your choice. And many colleges have that as an option. So if you've written an essay or written a story to share with us, and you are applying to a college and that's one of the choices is topic of your choice, well, you are in luck. So you can send whatever it is that you've already written and not worry about that essay prompt and trying to figure out how to make your story fit. I will say that the Common App is an application platform that many colleges use. I think the number is 800 or so colleges across the United States are members of the Common application. It's essentially one application platform that you can then send. If you fill out the Common App, you can send it to any college that's listed as a member of the Common App. And they announced in January of 2022 what the essay prompts would be for this upcoming school year. So you already know if you're applying to a school that's a member of the Common App, you can see what the essay prompts are already. You literally can just Google Common App essay prompts and you'll see what they are. There are 7 different choices. All of them, if you read through all 7, you'll see that the word you is embedded throughout all 7 of them. They're all different kinds of slants on what story you want to share or how you want to frame your story, but they all have the word you in it. And truly the common theme is you. We want to get to know you. I will share a couple of these essay prompts just so you have an idea. So essay prompt number 1 says some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. That word you is in there twice at the very end. So, if this sounds like you, then please share your story. Again, we want to get to know you through this essay prompt. I'll give you another one. I'm just going to randomly choose. Number 4, reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? So you is in there 3 times. We want to get to know you through these questions. And finally, essay prompt number 7 in the Common App says, share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. So truly, even through the Common App, you can write your essay this spring or summer, even if you're not sure where you're going to apply for admission, and you're ready to go with your essay topic if you use the Common App using prompt number 7, topic of your choice. So you're good to go. No reason not to get started. So I'm going to give you 4 tips about your essay that hopefully will help as you're trying to figure out, how to go about doing this. So tip number 1 with your essay is be honest. Tell the truth about yourself. Tell the truth and be yourself. Don't try to be something that you think we want you to be. What we want you to be is yourself. So if you're trying to figure out what colleges are looking for, you're already on the wrong track. Rather than wondering what colleges want from you, decide what you want to share with the colleges about yourself. This slight change in perspective makes all the difference in determining who is in control of this situation. And hopefully this will allow you to feel more empowered with writing the essay, knowing that you are in control of what you present to us. So you might remember Anthony Bourdain. He was a celebrity chef and a travel journalist. And he was interviewed before his death about the success of his television series, saying, if you think about the audience, so he was asked, why do you think your television series is so successful? And this was his response. If you think about who the audience is and what their expectations might be, I think that's the road to badness and mediocrity. You go out there and show the best story as best you can. If it's interesting to you, hopefully it's interesting to others. If you don't make television like that, it's pandering. And I remember when I read that quote thinking, wow, this is just like the essay for college admission. So what I want to say to you, or why I shared this with you, is don't pander or give in to the admission officers. Say what you want to say, present what you want to present. Don't try to figure out what the college admission offices want, because what we want is just for you to be yourself. So figure out, what do you want to tell us? What do you want us to know about who you are? And hopefully just That slight change in perspective, as I said earlier, will help you feel more comfortable with moving forward with this. Tip number 2 is own your story. What you want to do is write a story that nobody else could write by including details. By including so many details, nobody else could have written that same story or had that same experience. You might have gone on an experience or had an experience, and some of your classmates might have been in that same experience with you, but your experiences are unique to yourself. So what details can you provide that the person sitting next to you may not be able to provide? Perhaps it was something that happened before you entered that same room, but you know, as you prepped for that experience, or what takeaways you had from it. But what you want to ask yourself is, could somebody else tell the same story? And if so, then add more details to make it your own. Take your common occurrences and make them unique. Try to find significant details in the ordinary things you do every day. So it's not as if you have to have this life-changing experience, as I said before. You can take an ordinary daily task and just, you know, how is that making it unique to your story or who you are? So I do have a quick example that I want to share. A snippet from an essay. One would be, it's the exact same experience, but one is without detail and the other is with detail. And I hope that this example will just kind of put it in perspective and help you understand what I'm trying to get out here. So the example without detail goes like this. I was extremely nervous before the orchestra started playing. However, I knew that this was an important performance and that I needed to play well. I took a deep breath, relaxed, and did my best to concentrate. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's also not very memorable because it's not super visual either. To the reader, I don't get a whole lot out of that, but I'm going to take this exact same experience and add detail, and hopefully it will help you visualize this student's experience. So same thing, same experience, but with detail. I was sitting there on the stage with my violin resting on my shoulder, and I was sure I'd never been that nervous. I looked out into the crowd of 200 people, and somehow I found my dad. He was holding his iPhone up high, just as usual, to be sure to capture this moment. My dad loves recording everything I do. With that phone, he's captured my first home run in Little League and my first entrance on stage in my first school play. Now, as I was about to play as the first chair violinist in my community orchestra, there was my dad once again with his iPhone ready to record. Something about seeing him there just made me feel more relaxed and comfortable, and I knew I was going to be okay. My dad gave me a quick thumbs up and mouthed the words, "Good luck." As the conductor raised his wand, I smiled at my dad, nodded back at him, and started to play. I hope that you see the difference between those two excerpts of the exact same experience and how different it is for the reader who does not know this person, and what they're visualizing as they're reading it. It makes it more memorable. We learn so much more about the student. Obviously, he has a tight connection with his dad. He's involved a few different things. He was nervous before he started playing, but his dad's presence made him feel comfortable, and he has this support system. So you learn more about the student by adding those details, and it makes it uniquely your own. Tip number 3, don't repeat information. So on this slide, I want to add an asterisk to it, because you can certainly elaborate on something that we can find in some other piece of your application file, but we do want each new piece to be new information about you. So if we see, let's say, for instance, your essay is simply your resume or your list of activities in paragraph format, that's just repeating the information that we already have about you. But if you take one particular activity or experience that you've had that you might have listed it on your resume or your list of activities, but you want to tell us a story about your involvement in that particular activity, that's different. That's allowed, and that's new information. A story that you might tell about a club or organization that you're in is absolutely appropriate for you to do. So when I say don't repeat information, what I truly mean is just don't write your essay as just your list of activities in a paragraph format, because it's just it's a waste of an opportunity for you because we want to learn about you. And that essay of all of the things that you're involved in isn't giving us new information. It's not allowing us to get to know you like we want to get to know you. But if you want to take one of those things and tell a story and elaborate, that's absolutely great and appropriate. And finally, tip number 4, be sure it's your voice. We want you to write as if you are talking. Use language that you would use as if you were talking to a teacher you respected, and with whom you felt comfortable. Let's say you stayed after class and just had a conversation about something that you discussed in class that day. That's the voice that we want to hear from you. We don't necessarily want the same voice that you might be using with your best friend every day. We don't want text speak, but we do want you to use the language that you're normally using. Sometimes students try too hard and they're using language that they don't necessarily use in their everyday vernacular, and it sounds very awkward. So just use the voice that you would normally use, as I said, as if you were, imagine that you were talking to a teacher you respected, and wanted to, put your best foot forward there and impress that person, but also still use the voice that you would normally use. The essay really should show the way you deal with the world every day. And if you have a sense of humor, I do want to mention that your essay can hint at that. That's okay. But if you're not necessarily that funny person, don't try to be funny. Don't try to be somebody else, because that's going to come through as awkward also. So just be yourself. Use the same voice that you would normally use, and things that you would say to others, to your classmates and to your friends and to your teachers and your parents and neighbors and those kinds of things. Details. So these are things that you just need to remember as you're putting your essay together, that you want to follow the directions for the length of your essay. Most essays have a length of 650 words. So keep that in mind, that you want to follow the directions. When you are writing your essay and uploading it into let's say, an application platform, if you don't write it directly in there, you're working on your essay and you're uploading it. If it's longer than the length that's allowed, it may cut off your essay. And that has happened before, where I've been in the middle of, the end of an essay, and I'm so excited to hear how the student wraps it up, and I'm engrossed in the story, and it's cut off mid-sentence. And boy, is that heartbreaking for me as a reader. And we read so many applications every day throughout the application cycle, and it's unlikely we'll have the time to be able to reach out to a student to say, oh, we really want to see, how we want to hear how your essay ends. Can you send us a new one? It's not going to happen. So if you are, creating it in a Google Doc and you are copying and pasting it into an application platform, just make sure that everything has transferred over, and that you haven't lost anything. So follow the directions for the length of the essay. Choose a good story. And what I mean by a good story is choose a story that is exciting to you. If you're excited to write that story, we'll be excited to read that story. If you get bored as you are writing your essay, we're likely going to get bored as we're reading it. So a good story is truly just a story that you're excited to tell. Stay on track with the essay prompt. So you will likely make several revisions throughout your essay writing process. And you might forget about that original essay prompt that you might be trying to fit it into. And just make sure that your essay story at the final draft still addresses the essay prompt that you were originally trying to answer. So just look back at that and just make sure it still makes sense. Be sure your essay is technically correct. Most students think that's the purpose of the essay. We want to make sure, it's a writing sample. We want to see how you write, how your sentences flow, it's grammatically correct, punctuation is used correctly, capitalization, all of those things. Those things are all important, but it's not the purpose of the essay. And so the essay the purpose is for us to get to know you. And if you have all of these errors, if it's technically incorrect, then we're going to get sidetracked on, oh my goodness, here's a mistake here or a punctuation error there. And we are going to miss your story in your essay writing sample. So make sure that it's technically correct. We want to hear your story, but we want to read it and have it flow really nicely. So have somebody else review it, and give their feedback, make changes as you see fit. If you feel like somebody's giving you some feedback, but it doesn't quite, perhaps it's the technical aspect, and that's great. But if they're giving you feedback about how you're phrasing things, if it's not your voice, I don't want you at the end of the day to feel like that's not my voice. If you're reading what you think is your final draft and you look at your third paragraph and you say, wow, my mom wrote that, you can tell. We can tell too. We can tell that the voice changes throughout your essay. So just make sure at the final draft, you're ready to hit submit, that you really feel like, this is still my work and it's my voice throughout. But do get that feedback to make sure it's technically correct as well. And then the last bullet point says use the correct college name. Typically, students do not include the college name in the college essay. Typically, students are writing an essay and sending it to multiple colleges. If that's the case, do not use a college name in your essay. But there are some students who will write essays that are specifically for a particular college. And it's about, one of our questions at the University of Tulsa, we have a college essay, and then we have some short answer questions. And one of them says, essentially, why are you interested in the University of Tulsa? Well, if students are answering that question and they're saying, they're interested in a private university where they're going to get lots of personal attention, small class sizes, small student to faculty ratio, but still have the big school feel with Division I athletics. And they're telling us why that's important to them. And then they end up applying to another school that has similar qualities. They can certainly take that same answer and change the college name. But if they forget to change the college name, boy, is it, egg on their face. We occasionally will get answers from students and it includes a different college name. And it's really frustrating. We are not naive. We know that you're applying to other colleges. We just don't want to see it when you're applying to ours. We want this to be, a unique relationship just with us. And when you say in an essay that we're reading that you can't wait to go to, and it's another university, it just breaks our heart. So it just shows lack of care on your part as well. So make sure that you are calling us the right name, and you are changing the name if you use that same essay for another school. The other thing I wanted to mention is that 650 word length. It's difficult. It's difficult to keep it in that word length. We realize good writing is succinct. And so you might find when you find a story that's engaging and interesting to you and you're excited to write it, that it's far more than what the essay length allowed is. And I, every year, have a few students who will reach out to me and ask if they can submit it anyway. And I would encourage you to get it down to the length of the essay and what's been asked of you. When Mark Twain was asked about the length of his novel, Huckleberry Finn, he said, if I'd have had more time, I'd have made it shorter. We realize it's difficult to edit your writing. We realize that. But we want you to be within that length. We are reading, as I said before, dozens and dozens of essays every day, every week throughout the application cycle. So we want to hear your voice and we want it to be succinct and we want to get to know you through that, but do follow that length of the essay. So there are many resources that I've used to put this together, including or in addition to my own experience of almost 30 years reading essays every year through the application cycle. But I wanted to shout out to these resources that I have used here to help guide my discussion today. Feel free to reach out to these resources yourself and to get more information. And your college counselors at Kirkwood High School are wonderful resources as well. So my contact information is here. If you want to reach out to me with any questions, you are welcome to do so. And truly, I just want to make sure that you realize that you are empowered, you are in control of this process, you're in control of what you want to share with us. And I hope that helps you feel better through that about this process. As I said before, you might not be excited about it, but I hope that this short presentation allows you to feel a little more comfortable with the process and understand what it is that we are looking for. We're just truly looking for a story that you want to share with us that helps us get to know you a little bit better, and that will be more than just those grades and the classes that you've taken, your curriculum and your list of activities and your test scores. What story can you share that helps us get to know you a little bit better through your essay? So if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to me. But as I said, your college counselors at Kirkwood are wonderful resources, and they're there for you. And I wish you the best of luck with your college search and writing your essay. And I encourage you to start now with that list of adjectives that you would use to describe yourself, and just keep going with that brainstorming activity, and it will come together. Best of luck to you. Thanks so much.